There are prayers no one hears and tears no one sees, but heaven does. In a quiet hill town, long before kings ruled Israel, there lived a woman, kind, gentle, and barren. Each year, she walked to the temple in Shiloh, carrying the same silent ache in her heart. Around her, the world rejoiced. Children laughed, mothers sang, but her womb remained empty and her hope grew thin. Her rival mocked her, her husband pitied her, and even her priest misunderstood her. Yet when others stopped believing, Hannah did not stop praying. For when the world saw barrenness, heaven saw a beginning. And in the shadows of her tears, a promise was forming, a child who would change the destiny of Israel. This is the story of a woman who wept until heaven answered, the woman God remembered. This is Hannah. In the rolling hills of Ephraim, there lived a man named Elkanah, a man of faith, gentle and steadfast, who worshipped the Lord of hosts with a loyal heart. His household was known among the people, a home filled with the fragrance of bread, laughter, and the rhythm of daily worship. Yet beneath that warmth was a quiet ache that even love could not mend. Elkanah had 2 wives, Peninnah, the first, blessed with many children. Hannah, the second, kind, graceful, deeply loved, but barren. Peninnah's tent echoed with the sounds of little feet, laughter spilling like sunlight through open doors. But Hannah's tent was silent. No lullabies, no whispered prayers over sleeping children. Only silence and faith that refused to die. Every year, as the harvest ended and the fields grew quiet, Elkanah gathered his household for a sacred journey. From the hills of Ramah to the holy ground of Shiloh, they would go to worship the Lord Almighty, the God who dwelt between the wings of the cherubim. It was a time of praise and joy for most, but for Hannah, it was the season her heart broke anew. The caravan wound through rocky paths and dusty trails. Children sang, Peninnah laughed with her servants. The sound of life surrounded her as she always humiliated and tormented Hannah for being childless. And yet Hannah walked in silence, clutching the edge of her shawl, praying that this year perhaps God would remember her. The sun burned high above them, casting long shadows across the road. The air shimmered with heat, but inside her, a colder silence lived. For each step toward the altar reminded her of the years gone by, prayers unanswered, womb unfilled, and hope deferred. Yet she kept walking. Because when you believe God still hears you, you keep walking toward His house, even with tears in your eyes. When they reached Shiloh, families filled the courtyards of the tabernacle. Smoke rose from altars. The scent of sacrifices hung thick in the air. Priests in white robes moved among the worshippers, their chants rising like wind through the trees. And somewhere in that holy crowd stood Hannah, still, unseen, unheard, her hands clasped, her eyes fixed not on the crowd but on heaven. Elkanah offered his sacrifices, giving thanks as he always did. He gave portions to Peninnah and to all her children, and to Hannah a double portion because he loved her. She smiled faintly, but even love could not fill the emptiness inside her soul. Peninnah's voice came again, sharp and cruel. "Still no child, Hannah. Perhaps the Lord has forgotten." Her laughter rang out like stones against the heart. Hannah's hands trembled. She turned away, her eyes burning, but she said nothing. That evening, while others feasted, she could not eat. She slipped quietly away from the crowd and made her way to the house of the Lord, where the flickering light of oil lamps danced across the golden pillars. Alone before God, she fell to her knees. Her body shook as she wept, not with loud cries, but with the silent sobs of a soul breaking open. And there, between her tears and her trembling lips, she made a vow. O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look upon the misery of your servant and remember me, if you will give me a son, then I will give him back to you. All the days of his life, her lips moved, but her voice made no sound. Only heaven heard her, and though she did not know it, the God who sits enthroned above the cherubim was listening. The temple of the Lord was hushed, the golden lamps casting trembling light upon the pillars. Hannah knelt there, her tears pooling upon the cold stone floor, her heart pouring out what her lips could not speak. The sound of the world faded, and only her silent plea rose to heaven. Each tear was a word, each sob a prayer. In that moment, the woman who had been mocked by men was whispering to the Maker of men. Her body trembled, her shoulders shook, but her soul stood strong before the throne of God. And then, from across the room, a voice broke the silence. The old priest Eli, seated by the doorway, watched her closely. Her lips moved without sound, her face flushed with emotion, her hands trembling as if she were lost in some frenzy. And Eli, weary from years of ministry and burden, misunderstood what he saw. He rose and approached her, his staff tapping against the floor. "How long will you be drunken?" he said sternly. "Put away your wine." Hannah lifted her eyes, pain flickering across her face but not anger. Her voice broke softly as she answered,
"No, my lord, I am not drunk. I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have not drunk wine or strong drink, but I have poured out my soul before the Lord."
Her honesty hung in the air like incense. The flames flickered higher, and for the first time that night, Eli truly saw her. The old priest's heart stirred. The Spirit of God whispered to him, and his tone changed from rebuke to blessing. "Go in peace," he said gently, "and may the God of Israel grant you what you have asked of him." In that instant, the weight that had crushed Hannah for years began to lift. She bowed her head once more, whispering,
"Let your servant find favor in your eyes."
Then she rose, not with tears this time, but with peace. Her steps were steady as she left the temple, and though nothing had yet changed in the world around her, something had shifted in the world within her. She no longer carried her sorrow, she carried a promise. For when heaven has heard you, peace always arrives before the miracle. The morning after her prayer, Hannah rose with a calm the world could not explain. The sorrow that had once clouded her eyes had lifted like fog burned away by sunlight. She ate, she smiled, she walked beside her husband, not with heaviness, but with quiet peace. Elkanah watched her puzzle, yet thankful, for something had changed in his wife, something sacred, invisible, but alive. That day, as they journeyed home from Shiloh, the road no longer felt long. Every step was lighter, every breath a prayer of hope. And the God who dwells above the cherubim remembered Hannah. In the days that followed, she conceived and became pregnant. Her body began to stir with the miracle of life. The same arms that had been empty for years now cradled the secret of answered prayer. She felt it, a quickening deep within her, and knew that heaven had kept its word. She was so happy. Elkanah, her husband, rejoiced too. Month after month, her faith grew with her child. When the pain of the past whispered, she answered it with praise. When doubt tried to return, she looked to the heavens and said, "He remembered me." And in the fullness of time, she bore a son, a child of promise, a miracle born from tears. She called his name Samuel, saying, "Because I asked him of the Lord." The home that once echoed with silence was now filled with laughter, the laughter of answered prayer. Samuel's cry filled the house like a song. Peninnah's words faded into dust, and Hannah's name became a testimony. For those who once pitied her now saw the hand of God resting upon her as Samuel grew. So did her devotion. She never forgot her vow that this child was not hers to keep, but to give back to the one who had given him. And when the time came to wean him, she dressed him in linen, packed offerings for the Lord, and set her face toward Shiloh once more. Her heart ached with love. But it was not sorrow, it was surrender, for she understood now that true love gives back what it treasures most. When she reached Shiloh, she found the old priest, Eli, once more. She knelt before him, and her voice trembled as she said,
"My Lord, I am the woman who once stood here beside you praying to the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me what I asked of him. Therefore, I give him back to the Lord all the days of his life."
And the boy, Samuel, remained there, serving before the Lord, while Hannah, her eyes wet with tears of joy, turned to leave the temple. But this time, her tears were not sorrow, they were worship. For the woman who once wept in silence now walked in peace. Her prayer had become a child, and her child a legacy. Then Hannah lifted her voice and prayed, "My heart rejoices in the Lord. My horn is lifted high. There is no one holy like the Lord. There is none besides you. The Lord brings death and makes alive. He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the needy from the ash heap." Each year, Hannah would make a little robe and take it to Samuel when she accompanied her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. Then Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife and say to Elkanah, "May the Lord give you other children by this woman to take the place of the one you dedicated to him." After that, they would go back home, and the Lord did bless Hannah, and she had 3 more sons and 2 daughters. The boy Samuel grew up in the service of the Lord, and so the woman who once wept in silence became a voice that heaven remembered. Her prayer gave birth not just to a son, but to a story that still sings through time. Because when faith holds on and tears fall in worship, God always remembers. She asked for 1 child, but she received 6 children for all her time spent waiting and trusting in God. Let us hold on to God like Hannah, and God will bless us beyond our imaginations. Thank you for watching this Bible story. If you enjoyed our video, please subscribe and turn on the notification icon so you do not miss the next one. It helps support us to make more videos like this. Also, do not forget to like our videos and share your thoughts with others in the comment section.